Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's Constance the Reader, and today we are doing a faves and flops of 2024 video. I technically have filmed this last year, but I ended up reading something right before the year was over, and I felt like I had to add it. I had to include it in the list. So Faves and Flops is just a really convenient title. Not every flop is a book that I hated. Some of them are just books that I kind of liked, but they weren't my favorite, and I probably wouldn't recommend this, but I kind of enjoyed it, or the ones that, no, I just did not like them. So just to have a disclaimer there from the beginning. But yes, I can't wait to talk to you guys about them, especially the ones that I finished right before the year was up. And yeah, without further ado, let's get into the faves and flops of 2024. Start off also by saying I have more faves than flops, so yay me. So it's not going to be fave, flop. We're going to kind of see where we go with this, very fluid. So we'll start off with our faves. First and foremost, my first fave and one of the first books I read and finished in 2024 was The Shepherd King duology by Rachel Gillig. Those are One Dark Window and Two Twisted Crowns. Absolutely loved that duology. I had a slow start with the first book, not because it was bad. I don't know why I read that so slowly, but there was just a point where I could not get enough of it. I read through it very quickly and said, okay, I'm picking up the second book. And that second book was really the one that I loved the most out of both of them. Loved them both, but the second one is my favorite, mainly because we got two new POVs that we didn't have in the first book that I thought, I love these characters. I'm so happy that we get to know what's going on with them. I thought that the magic and the world and the mystery was really, really, really cool. I was so shocked by the ending of the first book, and I really, really loved the series as a whole. So I would highly recommend reading that book if you're looking for something that is fantasy. It has a little bit of romance, but in my opinion, I would say the romance is so secondary. Like, clearly there's something building between our two main characters, and then in the second book we see other main characters have something, but I was less focused on the romance and more focused on our main female character and what she had going on with her. I thought that that was so cool. I also really loved Gangsta. I read Gangsta Cursed and then Gangsta. So Gangsta Cursed is the prequel and Gangsta is the regular, like, non-prequel version. It also is the anime. Now, do you have to read Gangsta Cursed before you read or watch Gangsta? No, not necessarily. I technically watched Gangsta before I even knew about the manga. So clearly it didn't stop me from really liking Gangsta, but having read the prequel, I know that it's certainly not going to hurt you to read it. I think it also helps you. There are people that we meet in Gangsta that we learn about from the prequel, and it's almost like in the anime and in the manga, people are referencing things that it's almost like we're not getting the full story. They're making a reference like we should know. I was in the prequel before that. And I do think that it's worthwhile to read that prequel first and kind of like have that, have that little moment. So you know why this character is important, what's going on with their backstory, what are people's motivations, because I really feel like that's a big part of Gangsta. It was just hands down like such a good manga. I really hope that it eventually gets like a full conclusion because I think it deserves it. But yeah, watch or read it. I think you would like it. For the final fave, before we get into flops, I would say They Called Me Lioness by Ahead Tamimi. I can't remember the other author, but really, really great book. Hard to call a memoir, nonfiction book like that great because it's just so sad and very real. So it's hard to say that, but obviously I do feel that way. If you want to read a Palestinian's perspective, their lived experience living in the West Bank, read that. It was very enlightening. I didn't know much about the difference between Gaza and the West Bank, but you get more information from Ahead Tamimi, her family, her family's legacy, how their like activism has evolved over the years, the people within her community, what it's like to live there. I would definitely recommend reading that. That's just my opinion. It's a worthwhile read. Getting to the first flop, I have to give it to The Retreat by J.A. Baker. I got this on NetGalley. I listened to it as an audiobook. Audiobook was actually not that bad, but the book itself, this is one I have to say, I did not like this. I would not recommend anybody read it. Not that you might not like it. I just wouldn't put it on a list of things I would recommend someone. I think that the title is kind of misleading because I had an expectation that this was going to have to do with like a couple maybe going away on a retreat. That wasn't what was going on. And I don't know. I just felt like it was pretty convoluted. The ending was weird. I didn't think it really made sense. I didn't think it was necessary. I think a lot of people's actions and motivations really didn't make sense. And the twist, although I didn't technically see it coming, I was very like, okay, well, there's that, I guess, you know. So it definitely was not a fave of mine. Back to faves. We're gonna give it to My Darkest Prayer by S.A. Cosby. I read so many S.A. Cosby books in the last 2 years. So freaking good. My Darkest Prayer was so awesome. I would read it in general, whatever format suits you. But I have to say, the audiobook, delicious, perfect, great. Love the narrator. His voice is just amazing. It fits exactly like that tense, mysterious vibe that you get from an S.A. Cosby book. And My Darkest Prayer did not disappoint. I think I started with Razor Blade Tears, and wow, holy shit. You keep going on the other ones I've read, and I have not read an S.A. Cosby book I didn't like. And I'm pretty sure there's going to be another book coming out sometime this year. I will be getting it. I will pre-order it immediately. Next is another manga, and that is The Summer You Were There. I really, really enjoyed this. Now, this is not complete, and the sixth or seventh volume comes out sometime this year in the early part of the year. I can't wait to finish this series, although I know how it's going to end and it's going to be very sad. So that's what I'm not looking forward to when it comes to this series ending. But I read the first volume, I liked it, got into the second volume. As soon as I finished that second volume, I immediately had to look up, when's the third one coming out? It was out. I left, went to Books A Million, got it, read it all in one sitting, and then had to wait for volume 4. It was really good. I just know that it's going to really, really devastate me, but what can I say? I'm up for it. I am up for it. And one more, actually we'll do 2 more faves before we go to flops. Don't judge me. Listen and don't judge. Titan's Bride. Okay, sit with me here, okay? Get in this boat and I'm gonna paddle along this river and you just sit there leisurely while I explain myself. Okay. Yes. Titan's Bride is fucking crazy. I have seen things I didn't think I was gonna see. Something involving a slime. All right. It's been wild. But the story, I can't deny it, y'all. I really want to know what's going on with Caius. I don't know how to pronounce the main Titan character's name. Caius or Caius? I think Caius makes the most sense. I want to know what's going on with him. I want to know why someone's trying to take him down. Okay, I want him and the human dude, whose name I can't remember. I want them to live happily ever after. I want the human dude to figure out, like, whatever he needs to do to finally experience all of Caius, if you know what I mean. And yeah, I want to know why someone's coming after him. I want to know why they might even be trying to kill the human man. Okay, what's going on in this kingdom? Why is this stuff happening? I like that. Okay, is the explicit sex also like not bad to read? Yeah, okay, sue me. But it's really that story. Okay, it's really the plot. I promise you. And the last manga before we get into flops is going to be Seventh Time Loop. I really liked Seventh Time Loop. A coworker suggested the anime to me. As soon as I finished that first episode, I went and I got everything I could from the manga. I just bought all the manga that was out at that point, and then I've been a fan ever since. I really can't wait to read the light novel. I don't have them all, but I do have volume 1, so I will be getting into that soon, I promise. So for my second flop, it's going to go to On the Surface by Rachel McGuire. This was another NetGalley pick, and it wasn't that it was super bad. It was okay. I would technically possibly recommend that book. It was a great audiobook. Love the narrator. But it for someone who's never seen or read Gone Girl, that's what this book is giving. Okay, it's a couple. They're like they do like boat life or like van life style content on YouTube. They're okay in terms of their views, but the woman in the relationship, but the girlfriend, she has bigger dreams than just being at like, I don't know, 500 subscribers. I was personally very excited when I got 500 subscribers. Thank you very much. Okay. I am going to go crazy whenever, and hopefully the day comes where I can have 1,000 subscribers. That'd be so cool. But she's not, she wants more, and you know, good for her, I suppose. But to do that, she's got to do something pretty wild. And unfortunately, that means possibly setting up her boyfriend, or her boyfriend did kill her. But as I said, you know, if you know anything about Gone Girl, you know where I'm going with that. So it was pretty predictable. I didn't think there was much of a twist that had me going, whoa, didn't see that coming. Yeah, so it was a little lackluster, but it was still a nice read, and I liked the audiobook for it. Back to faves, y'all. I'm gonna have to give it to A Vicious Game by Melissa Blair. I know that the Halfling Saga is my favorite favorite fantasy series, okay? It is definitely up there with some of my favorites, and because it's not done yet, but Vicious Game was so good. I'm actually rereading it right now because the next book came out, An Honored Vow, and I just have to make sure that I get all of my memories back in order for this book. I think An Honored Vow might be the last book, and if it's the last book, I'm really sad. Today is the 6th, and tomorrow the audiobook releases. Technically that's when the book releases, but it's been out and put out on shelves in Barnes & Noble Books A Million, which I already got. But yes, I love A Vicious Game. I love Melissa Blair. I love the Halfling Saga. It is one that I will forever recommend to people. It is so good, okay? I'm seeing it kind of be explained like a romantasy. I don't know that I would call it romantasy, but that's just from where I'm sitting. Obviously there is relationship and a little bit of sex in there, but I feel like that's so secondary, like especially in the first book. Like obviously there's some sexual tension going on, and it's nowhere near as freaking nasty as how it ends up being in the end. But the story, the story of what is going on is so much bigger than it is, because it's part of the thing, but it's kind of, it's described as a romantasy now. I'm not saying that it's a bad thing to be called romantasy. I just think that it's like more fantasy than it is romance, especially that first book. But who am I? I just think it's so good, and I absolutely recommend. And then one more fave, I have to give it to On or Off. That was one of the first manhwas I read. I think that's how you would describe it. A webtoon, I'm not sure. Really, really good. Really, really enjoyed that. Was very surprised. It definitely awakened me even further into really, really liking like an office romance. I love the dynamic. I think it is so funny, and I definitely would reread that series. So read On or Off. You will like it. Back to flops. Okay, I'm seeing a theme here. Murder on Devil's Pond by Ayla Rose was another NetGalley pick I had. That is one that I would not reread. It's a cozy mystery, and it wasn't bad. It just wasn't that great. Like, I just feel like I've read other cozy mysteries that I liked more. So would I say don't ever read by that author? No, I probably wouldn't. It was just okay. You know, it was just fine. I don't think I figured out who did it, but at the same time, I just can't see myself reading it again. But not terrible. Back to faves. So of course, you know, I had to put Though I Am an Inept Villainess on here. The reason why I got into it was because I was basically sad and just so empty inside, waiting for another volume of The Apothecary Diaries, and somehow maybe someone suggested it on TikTok, possibly, I don't know, but it hit the spot. It definitely scratched the itch, filled the void that was missing, waiting for The Apothecary Diaries. I just read the 6th volume, and it's still really good. I don't know if this is going to be an anime. Maybe an anime, I'm not sure, but I would 1000% watch it. I think it is so good. I also have most of the light novels, and I absolutely want to read those too, because I mean, the story is just getting so good. All right, now for another fave. All the Dangerous Things by Stacey Willingham. wow, that was a great audiobook. I read another book by that author. I think it was A Flicker in the Dark. That one was okay, but I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. So I went into All the Dangerous Things, not having super high expectations, but really, really being excited for that book. I would absolutely re-listen to that audiobook in a heartbeat because it was so good. I remember finishing the book in this room, screaming because I did not see that coming. It was so good. I really, really loved that book. I would definitely recommend. And during that time, I also read, another fave, The Golden Couple by Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen. Another one that was so good. I think I also had a moment of with that one. It was just so good. Like, I genuinely like that audiobook. I like the book. I would listen to that again. I technically have the physical book because I got it in a Book of the Month Club subscription, but that book ended up on Hoopla, which is unfortunately what always ends up happening, and that's why I had to stop doing Book of the Month Club. Girl, I can't keep up with it. And then I would see the shit as an audiobook on Hoopla, and I was like, well, then why the hell did I just pick this? It's just easy to get annoyed. But that was really good. And then I'll do another one because I read this at the same time. The Wife Between Us, which I think is by the same Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen. That was also good. I was a little concerned that I might not like it, but in the end, that ended up being a good book. I enjoyed myself. Now for flops, we're going to have to choose Rose and Blood, okay? This is a manga. It's got to do with vampires. It's not that I totally hated it. It's just that many things were missing, I guess. So it's following a human woman and then 4 male vampires through a fucking weird ass series of events. So the human woman ends up being their maid, but also their little like woman that they're all like lusting after and in love with. That's not bad. It's just that like so much of the story doesn't make any sense to me. Maybe it needed like more volumes. Maybe some things needed to be cut. I don't know. I mean, shit, I just read a 5-volume series, Blade of the Moon Princess, where the pacing was so good. There were no plot holes, characters, everything made sense. So obviously it can be done in 5 volumes. That's not what happened with this one. And would I read Rose and Blood again? Probably. Like I went a long time in between the volumes and it just became like, this is okay. Maybe if I just read them all in one go, it would be different. But yeah, it was just okay. I wouldn't not recommend it, but I wouldn't personally recommend it, if that makes sense. Back to faves, okay. From Below by Darcy Coates. Love a Darcy Coates book, okay? Listen to that as an audiobook. It was so good. I would recommend listening to it as an audiobook because I think that you get, oh my God, you get more of that tense fear because it's following a group of divers who, this dive is like really important because the money that they're getting will actually like help them further. Like I think they're gonna like go out of business, not be able to do this if they don't get this done. And it's really important that they get a certain amount of footage in this haunted ship. So you're getting the perspective of the people present day as they're diving into the ship, and then a few flashbacks. It's still really confusing, you know what I'm saying? But it's really, really good. There are some scenes in there that were so good to me. They reminded me of that one book I read that has to do with space. I can't remember what the name of it is. I might put a picture up. And then it also was a cross between Into the Drowning Deep. So it was like a combo of those two things, but in Darcy Coates' like perfect haunting ghost story style. I definitely recommend Darcy Coates all the time. I think Darcy Coates is a really, really good author. I haven't found a Darcy Coates book that I didn't like. You know, at the very least, like, some I might not like more than others, but that one was really good. And one more fave before we go to flops. Ebony Gate and Blood Jade by Julia V and Ken Babel. So I got Blood Jade on NetGalley, but that's the second book. So I had to listen to Ebony Gate first, and that was on Hoopla. I ended up loving it. It's a really awesome urban fantasy. I don't read many urban fantasies, but this one was so good. It was so awesome. I definitely would recommend listening to them as an audiobook because I really like the narrator. I like the story. I think that the pacing was really good and it was worth it. I would definitely recommend. Back to flops. So To Gaze Upon Wicked Gods by Molly, I can't remember her last name. That again was another NetGalley book. Not my favorite. I wouldn't not recommend it. And honestly, like, I'm still intrigued to know what happens in the second book. So I probably would read the second book, but you know, it was just okay. A lot of people on Goodreads and Book Talk, like in the bookish community, their biggest complaint with it was that it felt like a colonizer romance. And I know some people were trying to push back on that, but I mean, technically it was. It was kind of a colonizer romance. You have our main female character. Also, the other thing I didn't like about this, I thought the world was very confusing. It's like somehow like several different dimensions and planets. Romans, were they Romans? Greek people? I don't know. They show up, they're very technologically advanced, but don't believe in magic, colonize this world, which was kind of, I think, loosely based off like ancient China. I could be wrong, so I'm sorry. But basically, picture that, where they do have a form of magic. Everybody kind of has their own like different versions if they have magic. And obviously, like, magic is kind of slowly fading away. So the Romans, Greeks, whoever the fuck they were, the white people, are now here colonizing them, oppressing them. And our main female character falls in love with him, and he is a piece of shit. He is one of the people who is actively doing this shit to her. But then she doesn't like the guy who is technically working with them. So like amongst like her childhood friends, these people who are from here, she's mad because he is working with them, but technically he is like a double agent trying to double cross them from within. But you don't like him, but you like this guy who's a fucking weirdo psycho killer? Okay. But the only thing I wanted to know was like, what I want to learn more about is like, what happens with her sister? What happens after with her friend? Because now I don't remember if her friend died. I want to see these fuckers go down, man. I want to see these fuckers get taken down if possible. So yeah, I probably will continue reading the series, but I don't know that I'm going to be too excited about it, if that makes sense. Next for a fave, had to give it to Windbreaker. Windbreaker was awesome. Loved the anime. The manga is so good. I can't wait for the next volume that comes out this month, I believe. If not this month, it comes out early in February. I am so excited about this series. It is so freaking good, okay? And the character that we're about to meet, I just love them so much. I feel like there's such a good representation in here. These stories are awesome. I feel like we have a main character who we can all root for and we want to know and like cheer on and like want to see do good. And then all these people that he's meeting along the way that are his friends, they're just so awesome. So the stories are great. I couldn't recommend any more than I already do. Now for a flop, I'd have to give it to Sheltering Eve. So that was a manga that I got approved for on NetGalley. It was just okay. It was not something that I don't think I could see myself reading more of that series. Not bad, just not my favorite. It's following two young people who are both in a foster home, and one is a girl, one is a boy, and they're basically about to age out of foster care. And I think that is an actually interesting story, but it just wasn't my favorite. I don't know that I would keep on with the series. Next for a fave, I had to give it to You Can Trust Me by Wendy Hurd. That was good. That was a good pick from NetGalley. I hope that gets made into a movie. It was to be so good. I would be on the edge of my seat. Okay, here are two more faves. I'm just gonna put them together because this was another like listen and don't judge, please. Cast Heaven and Jealousy. Hear me out. Cast Heaven. Dear God. Okay. Did not know what to expect with that. I had no idea. I don't know when the sex starts becoming consensual. It's probably not till the very end where everything across the board is consensual. So know that going in if you decide to read this. But the thing I found really interesting about Cast Heaven is, you know, this is a school that like this particular class, I mean, it seems like, are they seniors? I think it's a senior class, basically has this thing that happens where they hide cards around the school, and you, whatever one you get, that is the cast that you're in for however long they keep that version of the game going. So this could happen several times within a year, or maybe it could just happen once. I don't know. But, you know, obviously if you get a high card, so a king, a queen, a jack, you're good. If you get a lower card, you might not be the most popular, but you might not be the most hated. And then the worse the card is, the worse you are treated. And Joker being the worst one, you are basically, everyone's just human punching bag. You can do whatever you want to that person. And the thing that I find so interesting is that the only way that this can happen is because these kids let it happen, right? Now, even some of the teachers know what's going on, but many of these kids didn't want to do this. Now, they didn't mind it when they were at the top, but when they were at the bottom, obviously it's like, well, I don't want this anymore. You could have been like in that neutral part of the game where, you know, I can be friends with people, but, you know, basically the way that the game goes, it hinges on everybody agreeing like, okay, well, I guess I'll just either let this happen, or I agree to be like a total piece of shit and be awful. And it takes one person who technically got the king card last time and was a fucking menace and treated people like shit and did assault people, for him to be treated that way and him to be like, this game is stupid. That did kind of piss me off. But I felt like that was an interesting thing, and I would love to know, like, I would like to have more conversations about that. Like, in my high school, I don't really feel like there were like popular kids versus unpopular kids in a way that was like, oh, these kids are getting beat up because they're unpopular, thankfully. But I can't imagine like that happening, and like the chaos that would ensue. It would just be weird. But it all hinged on these people either saying, okay, I'm just going to keep going along with this, or I'm not going to let this continue. So the few people that you meet who are trying to say like, no, I don't want to treat anybody like shit, they had a card where they were neutral and they could kind of be invisible, or they were treated poorly, but once they got a better card, they didn't do that. And then other things happened in between them. I thought that was a really, really good, interesting story. But no, to start it off, there's nothing consensual going on there. And jealousy, I don't know. There's just something about jealousy that had me. I definitely kept reading it. Another one where it's like, not a lot of this is consensual. It's at some points. That second main character, or the main character that we see like the beginning and the end, God, he pissed me off so many times. The decisions that he made would just drive me crazy, but that ending had me sad, crying. It was just so great. I would love the way it ended, so I had to put it on here for a fave. Going back to Flops, Rod, Reader Dream, just not my favorite. It's been okay, and I didn't finish it. I have 4 volumes. I only need to read 2 more. It's not bad. It's just not the best thing I've ever read, but I'll finish it, that's for sure. Another fave is Cackle by Rachel McHarrison. That was so good. That was my sister's choice for the book club last year, and I really enjoyed it. It was surprising. It's not what I thought it was going to be. I really didn't know what to expect from that book, but I really loved the ending. It ended up being really good, and I would recommend it. And unfortunately, I didn't put this on its own little thing, so I will forget that it's there. Peking Duck and Cover by Vivian Chen, another hit. All right, I loved it. I love a noodle shop mystery. Now for a flop, Pumpkin Spice Cafe by Lori Gilmore. Okay, so I just want to say that my mom is notoriously terrible, love you mother, about making a choice about what she wants to pick for her book club pick. I don't know why, but that's just how my mom is. She often takes suggestions. I think this was in the month of November was her time, or October, and she was looking for suggestions. Hey, Connie to the rescue. I remember hearing about this cozy book. I thought it was a cozy mystery, The Pumpkin Spice Cafe. I should have known better, because the smut girlies were talking about it and I didn't really think anything of it. So I told my mom, oh, I gave her a list. She didn't have to choose Pumpkin Spice Cafe. She did, but technically I made the list. She chose that, did not know they were going to be having sex. Boom, 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 boom. The last few chapters, I mean, one after the other. It was almost like have sex, go to sleep, wake up, have sex. congratulations, but not my favorite book. Not because of the sex, but because hated the main male character. Such an ass, like just negative for the sake of being negative, and we don't like that. Another fave is going to have to go to Trust Issues by Elizabeth McCullough Keenan. Recommend that book for sure. I got that on NetGalley. That was a win. And wow, had me on the edge of my seat. I actually think I had to stop myself from staying up too late to finish that because I couldn't put it down. It was so good. I want that to be a movie. If it ever becomes a movie or a show, it would be really funny for sure. It would be a really good mystery, but at the same time, an even deeper message about, you know, these two adult children have never appreciated their mother. And when their mother dies, all they want from her is money. All they want is her estate. All they want is all these things. But unfortunately, she married somebody who basically took everything and said F you to the kids because that guy was a scammer. And they are thinking that they are playing somebody who's going to help them get the money. But little do they know, they might get played in the process. And I thought that the book was so good. I would definitely recommend people read that. I can't remember when it comes out, but wow, really, really good. All right, so now for another flop, Checkmate. That was a manhwa I read. Did I read that in the month of December? I'm not sure. It was just okay. Could I see myself continuing on with that series? Sure, but I won't physically buy it because one, those things are expensive, and two, yeah, it was just okay. I didn't like one of the main characters, but I do want to know what's going on with this teacher that's clearly abusive. Who am I? So another fave, Ladies on Top, very, very good. Enjoyed that 6-volume series. Everything from Hansama. So I actually had to realize I didn't really like Togen something. One of them wasn't my favorite, but it was okay. I didn't hate having to have read it. So I had to put like everything from Hansama just because I've found so many series that I really like. Killer Shark in Another World. I Want to Do Bad Things with You. Is it Love Bite Vampire Otaku? I think that's what it is. I've just found so many manga that I really, really like, so I had to include Hansama. And giving Change Soldier on there too. Okay, look. I like Change Soldier. I can't deny it. I enjoy reading it, so it had to be on here. Back to flops. I didn't really like Snow and Ink. I got that from NetGalley. It was just okay. I don't even remember much about it, but I just remember not really liking it. I can see how somebody would like it though, but I don't think it's for me. And okay, so I have 2 and 2. All right. I'll go ahead and say Hurricane Wars. All right. Was one that I didn't like, so that's in the flop category. I didn't even finish the Hurricane Wars, and it's funny, I forgot that I DNF'd that. I might finish it because I would like to know what's going on, but it's not my favorite style, like YA book. Is it YA? I'm not sure, but it was just okay. It was my first like introduction to, what is it, Rilo fanfic or something, like the Star Wars people. I don't really know that I like, I don't know. I don't know if I don't like it because I didn't finish it, but I had to include it as a flop because I didn't finish it. But if you liked it, let me know down in the comments. Like, is it one that I should give a chance to? I'm open. A fave was Blade of the Moon Princess. I finished that at the very end of the year, and that's why it's on this list, because I finished it and I could not believe that I didn't read it sooner. It was so good. Highly recommend it. It's by the same mangaka as Spy Family. I honestly think that I like it more than I like Spy Family. And this person also wrote Tista. Haven't finished that. It's only 2 volumes, but Blade of the Moon Princess is so good. 5 out of 5 stars in my opinion. My final flop is Imakoi. I also finished that at the very end of the year. It isn't that I hated that series, but it was just okay. I didn't love it and I didn't hate it. I did enjoy the ending. I just talked about that in a reading vlog that hopefully is going to be uploaded tomorrow on the 7th. Yeah, it was just okay. Wasn't my favorite. Would I read it again? Maybe, but of the like high school romance things, you know, it definitely has been my least favorite that I've read. But for a completed series, I would say not bad. I wouldn't say that it's terrible. I would recommend it, but it's not my favorite. But finally, the last fave, which wasn't even the last one on the list, but I decided, you know, I'm gonna make an executive decision and end on one of the best things I fucking read. And if you don't know, then you don't know me. Oh, I kicked the camera. Yakuza Fiance. Ah! Okay. I'm not gonna go too long because I don't know how long this video is, but Yakuza Fiance is amazing. I can't get enough of it. I want Yoshino to somehow be in the middle of a Kirishima and Shoma sandwich. Oh, I love it. Okay. Please, for the love of God. It's 2025. Please let there be a volume 9. Whatever needs to happen, make it happen because it deserves it. Fund that mangaka. Fund whoever the fuck needs to be funded. Support them and get it to us because we deserve it. Okay? Because this is something that I don't know if I'm going to find anything. So like I had Though I Am an Inept Villainess to kind of like help me through my sad, dark time of no Apothecary Diaries. I don't have anything that fits that for Yakuza Fiance. Nothing is there to do that. You know what I mean? Not in the way that Yakuza Fiance is. I tried Yakuza Lover. No. Not good enough. Okay? If you agree that Yoshino needs to have a little sandwich of Kirishima and Shoma, and she needs to be the middle, put a heart down in the comments, okay? We deserve it. That's what we deserve to see. God, I hope we see that in the anime. Also, the anime is only 12 episodes. Hello, give me another volume, please. But anyway, those are my faves and flops of 2024. Now, obviously, there were so many more things that I read last year. I read over 280 books before the year was over. So, yeah, I got close to 300. I don't know about this year, but we'll see. I got a lot of stuff I need to read. A lot of box sets. So I should actually get pretty close to 300. But yeah, great reading year. I loved 2024. As you guys could see, I didn't have many flops. I really did not. But those faves were so freaking good. Please, if you haven't read some of the things that I said were like my faves, read them. I really feel like if we can align on some other things that I like, that you've read and you like, I think you will like those if you haven't read them. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Give them a try. But yeah, thank you so much for watching my video. If you like the video, please like the video. If you like it, subscribe, hit the notification bell, follow my other social media. It's in the description box down below. And you have a good day. Goodbye.